like you said, well, what did you say last episode? They look like they're in sync. So
I said the Grizzlies don't look like they're in sync,
yeah,
but the Kings look like they're in sync.
the Kings look
You know,
like they're in sync.
they might take the back streets to the NBA Finals. It's getting hot in Sacramento, about 98 degrees.
They're the new kids on the block now, so they're doing it.
You are now listening to The Dime with Josh Rodriguez, your weekly go-to podcast for all things NBA. Subscribe on iTunes or listen every week on thedimepodcast.com. And now, your host, Josh Rodriguez.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Dime. The Kings light the beam on the Knicks. Draymond Green and Dillon Brooks are still fighting. KD's caught slipping. Kwab and I break down the latest in NBA headlines, and we go pole dancing. If you want to follow The Dime, you can on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_Kwab is at Kwab, a.k.a. Yes. All episodes are broadcasted on the Ballislife Podcast Network. If you're listening on Apple, on Spotify, make sure you give 5 stars, leave a review, tell us how great we are and all that good stuff. Kwab, are you ready to go pole dancing? Let's go into this right away.
Let's do it right away.
You know you want it. It's time to go pole dancing. Get your mind out the gutter. We're talking about Twitter polls. My goodness.
Yes, let's hit the back alley of social media, which is NBA Twitter. I put up 3 polls on the Dime's Twitter account, and you responded. Kwab, you ready to go over the results?
Let's do it.
All right, first question, first poll. Better feel-good story this season. In at 22.9%, it was the Knicks are back. A very feel-good story for me, being a New York Knicks fan. Feels great the Knicks are back. They're good. They're in the playoffs right now. As of now, I mean, they've lost 2 in a row, but it's a good story, right, Kwab? Feel good? Whatever. Well, it loses to light the beam. The Sacramento Kings are back in at 77.1%. That breaks my heart. But Kwab, I gotta be honest with you, man. I think I kind of agree. What do you think?
I completely agree. It's like the beam. The Knicks being back is not really the feel-good story to me. They had a great year, and then in the playoffs again, they had a great year for what the Knicks were. Okay, let's. I know Knicks fans are like, yo, we're winning the championship. They had a great year, and then they had a very down year. Even last year, we had a conversation. I thought they were going to make the playoffs because I liked the additions they made, and it went way, way bad. And they had a down year, and now they're back up. It's a good story. It doesn't have the same feeling as Sacramento. It's been forever since Sacramento had a winning team. They have a chance to be in the playoffs. I remember back in the day when it was the Chris Webber, Jason Williams, Sacramento Kings. They were fun to watch, and then they traded Jay Will for Mike Bibby, and they were still fun to watch. And now they're one of the most exciting teams to watch. They high octane offense, as you saw tonight. The defense is still needs some work, which is surprising.
A lot of work.
Which is surprising with the coach they have. But they have the better story, in my opinion.
Nah, I gotta agree with you, man. Listen, I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm biased. And the Knicks have been a punching bag for a really long time, but so have the Sacramento Kings. And the Kings haven't even sniffed the playoffs. Like, the Knicks made the playoffs a few times in the Melo era. They made the playoffs a couple years ago. I mean, they've seen no success, but it's not like Knicks fans are totally blind to success or haven't seen any type of success in years. Sacramento Kings fans had nothing to root for in the past, 2 decades. And then on top of that, like, they almost lost their team. So they're like, that's family in the hood that is like getting evicted, has evicted notices on their front door and fighting it every single day in court and barely keeping their freaking apartment together just to stay in a place in a small market that doesn't get too much attention or too many free agents, with a fan base that's starving for winning, and they finally got a winner. So yeah, I would have to go the Sacramento Kings as well. Even though, like, I've been watching them all year and I've been, like, loving the beam. It's a different feeling when the beam is lit on you.
It's a different feeling when you're watching your team play against them, and then you hear the crowd chanting "light the beam," and you're like, "Come on, man, relax, everybody, calm down, calm down, calm down, okay? I like you guys, but now you're being rude. Like, please, just chill out.
Can you just wait for us to get off the court, please?
Let's.
Please, can you wait for the buzzer to sound and for me to turn off my TV before you start rubbing it in my face?
I mean, I'll say that's a Nets fan. I remember when they played them at home and they destroyed them, completely
Yeah.
destroyed them, and you could hear the crowd, and it was loud in there. And I was like, "Geez, this is a great basketball atmosphere to be in." I remember back in the day, they used to talk about the cowbells they would
Yeah.
be banging the cowbells against
Yeah.
for the teams that are away. Now it's now the whole thing is to light the beams, and they look like they have a very bright future.
Yeah, I would think so. De'Aaron Fox is turning into a legit superstar. That Sabonis trade. Listen, we all ripped the Sabonis trade.
Same.
We all
Yeah.
ripped the fact that Tyrese Halliburton was being traded away. He seemed like he was a franchise player. The Kings front office deserves a lot of credit. He seems to be, I wouldn't say the missing piece, but he definitely is. He's an all-star, and he is somebody in this league who does make a difference. And I feel like a lot of people, including myself, overreacted with the trade, forgetting who they were getting in return, and also like forgetting the fact that like the Kings have a point guard in De'Aaron Fox. It's not like trading Tyrese Halliburton was like that detrimental to that specific position. On top of that, Devontis is, himself, he's a fantastic passer, just like his father. He's a great all-around player, and he's fit in perfectly, and he is a huge reason why they are where they are right now. He had triple-double tonight. The Kings beat the Knicks 122-117. A really wild game. Like if ADHD was personified in basketball, this is what this game would be in my mind.
That was just a ridiculous game to watch. Okay, Josh Hart must have had, I don't know how many rebounds he had, but it felt like every single one was an offensive rebound. It
Yeah,
was
let me check his stats. He had 37 offensive rebounds. 37. That's what it felt like.
looking at the numbers, definitely like 59
Yeah.
offense. Like he was every
It was
board.
ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous game to watch. And I saw somebody tweet out, "I can't wait for the Knicks Kings NBA Finals." And I was like,
It's look,
anything is
think we-
possible. I know. Yeah. Anything is possible, right? Anything is possible.
I was going to seriously ask you, and we've had a lot of discussions about the Western Conference kind of being wide open, and we talked about the Warriors, we talked about the Suns and the Nuggets. We've never talked about the Kings and given them serious consideration into winning the West. Why not the Kings? Is it because of their defense? Is it because you just can't rely on them in the half court? I know De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis are leading the league in clutch stats, whatever the hell these analytics are. I don't really pay attention to them, but I see that thrown in my face all the time. I think De'Aaron Fox is number one in clutch points. They have the shooting, they have the bench, they have playmakers, they have everyone at different positions, and they have depth as well. Why not the Kings in a year where the West is down and the Grizzlies are a mess right now? The Warriors can't win on the road. The Nuggets have always been the Nuggets, and no one really trusts them. The Clippers don't know who the hell they are. The Lakers are injured and old. Why not the Kings? Seriously, why not the Kings?
I think it comes down to the trust factor because you're just so new. Like you talk, who do you trust more? Do you trust the Nuggets or do you trust the Kings?
I trust the Nuggets more. I do.
You trust, okay, and then
Yeah.
the other question is like, who do you trust more? Do you trust the Warriors if they don't have to play on the road, or the Kings?
Listen, if the Warriors were even like a few games under 500 on the road, I'd be picking the Warriors to win the whole thing again.
Yeah,
I can't get over the fact they can't win on the road. They have a worse road record than the Charlotte Hornets.
it's crazy. It makes no sense. But yeah, going back to Sacramento, I just feel like
Yeah.
they're just so new. So and now it's at the point where we are looking at them and we're like, yeah, they need to improve the defense. They do lead, like you said, Fox leads the league in clutch points. And
Yeah.
there is a clutch award this year, a clutch trophy.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah, very weird.
I guess he's the front runner for it.
He's definitely gonna win it. I don't see anybody else beating him to it. When we talk about the Western Conference and we're talking about the playoffs, to me, it always comes down to matchups because of how bunched up the teams are. Even from the playing down, there's so many teams that are bunched up, and until it's all figured out, when the playoffs start, there are teams I feel like could beat the Kings. I feel like there are teams the Kings could beat.
It
So
just depends on who sees
it
who.
depends. Yeah, it depends on who sees who. I don't know if they can beat the Nuggets if they end up matching up to them, but it would be a good matchup.
Right.
You have two bigs that basically the offense runs around them, and you have guards. You have two guards that
They're very similar.
Very
The Nuggets
similar.
are way better defensively, but they're similar in how they're built for sure.
Yeah.
I just think, I was thinking as we were watching, and we've talked about the Kings before on the podcast, but it was more of like, oh, this is so cute. Look at the Kings. They're
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah, we gotta start taking them more serious. We gotta start taking them more
I
serious.
mean, why in a year where the Western Conference is up for grabs? Why not the team that's, I don't know, in second place right now?
Yeah,
You know,
right. That doesn't have any drama.
right? No
That-
drama. Feel good
that's-
story.
Feel good story. That's not dealing with like people targeting their MVP candidate. Like it's
Right.
just a
vibes.
great vibes, great coaching. Like you said, well, what did you say last episode? They look like they're in sync. So
I said the Grizzlies don't look like they're in sync, but the Kings look like they're in sync.
the Kings look
You know,
like they're in sync.
they might take the back streets to the NBA Finals. It's getting hot in Sacramento, about 98 degrees.
They're the new kids on the block now, so they're doing it. I got yeah. I got some boy band bars.
Let's go, baby.
I got some boy band bars.
All right, let's move on to the next tweet. I keep saying that. Let's move on to the next poll.
The next
Twitter.
back street. The next back
Next
street.
back street. Question number 2. Are the Sixers serious contenders to win the finals this year? Coming at 16.9% was yes, this is the year. But coming in at 83.1% and winning the poll was no, Sixers gonna Sixer. Kwab, I might need you to talk me down again.
Did you? You're probably the one that voted yes.
No, I wasn't the only one.
you and probably Ahern, John were the only ones that voted yes.
Yeah, me and Ahern and AJ Kelly, the only 3 people who voted yes.
You guys voted yes.
Listen, okay, so the question says, are the Sixers serious contenders to win the finals? This is contenders. It's not saying are they going to win the finals. This is not picking them to win the finals. This is saying are they contenders to win the finals? And what have you said in the past 2 episodes? You said this already today. It's all about what? Matchups. It's all about matchups.
In the Western Conference. In the West.
There was one team in the East that I think the Sixers don't match up with, and that's the Boston Celtics. They can't beat the Celtics. I think they match up favorably with the Bucks, and you saw them go into Milwaukee and beat them last weekend. On top of that, shout out to James Harden, man. James Harden is on like low key, under the radar, having a great season for this team. They are so much better with him on the court. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I do know that they're scoring the basketball more. He's just an overall, overwhelmingly net positive for the basketball team. You have Joel Embiid, who's an MVP candidate, one of the 2 best centers in the league, number 1, number 2, depending on who you prefer. Why not the Sixers coming out of the East? Honestly, like, I know I fall into this trap every year, man. This is like the 4th year in a row where I start talking myself into this.
You're looking at me like, come on, Kwab, give me something serious. Please, give me a serious reason. Give me a serious reason why. Look, the Sixers have 2 of the top players in the league. Arguably the best big man in the league, Joel Embiid. One of my issues with the team,
okay,
I have a couple of them. Let's go and start from one. Doc Rivers not making adjustments has been a huge problem playoff time.
Okay.
It doesn't seem to be the case right now. He seems to be, I guess, changing a little bit when it comes to that. But there's a reason why a lot of Sixers fans always say Doc's gonna Doc. Like they're gonna.
No, I know. I mean, he's got a lot of flack in Los Angeles too, and for a lot of the Clippers' failures when he was in Los Angeles, he has been outcoached in the playoffs. It's what you're saying is truth.
Yeah, they're like Glenn, and people say that's Glenn Rivers. They call him. Some people don't even call him Doc. They say Glenn Rivers. Glenn Rivers. You worry about the health of Joel Embiid because moving forward, if he's healthy, he is unstoppable. And I really, really hope it doesn't happen this year. But it's always a weird freak injury come playoff time that he ends up having to deal with.
But can you count on that? Like when we're talking about you're right. Go ahead.
You're right. You're right. You can't really put that out there or count on that. But it's happened. Yeah. It feels like it's happened every year just because of how big he is, how when he ends up falling on the floor and how much damage he ends up taking because people just push him and hit him because he's a big man.
And sidebar, the man's on the floor 19 times a game. He's always on the floor. If you watch the Sixer game, he's
he's always hitting the ground. Part of the reason is that he does it on purpose to
he does.
fall, so he doesn't take contact. It's like a better way for him so he doesn't get injured. I remember they were explaining it and I thought it was weird. the other thing is that
It
I
sure is working.
it sure is working, right? The other problem, not other, I guess, quote unquote issue or problem, is that your best two players are free throw merchants
Why is that a problem?
because a lot of times you don't get the same calls in the playoffs.
Okay.
They call the game more physical, so I don't know if you're getting the same calls. As talented as Joel Embiid is, there's a bunch of times when I watch him play, I'm like, stop looking for the foul, just go get the bucket.
Yeah.
And that goes with James Harden too. There's a bunch of times where I'm like, just go get the bucket. Stop worrying about the foul. In the Milwaukee game, he did more of that, where he was just attacking, getting downhill, going for his shot. When he does that and he's consistent, team is fine. They play really well.
Yeah.
Now the main issue is that can you count on James Harden and Joel Embiid in a 7-game series? That's why that poll is 16 to however much it is on there. When the 7-game series, if the longer a series drags on, is when people starts like, oh God, here it comes. James Harden's gonna disappear. James Harden's gonna disappear. James Harden's gonna disappear. And then on top of that, people keep talking about he's leaving for Houston at the end of this year.
Yeah.
It's been mentioned so many times, and the first time I heard it, I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, Daryl Morey is not going to allow that to happen. And it keeps being repeated, which is weird.
It's almost like a fact.
Yeah,
It's
which
like-
is, and I hope it doesn't happen. I really hope
Same.
it doesn't happen, just because I like the team constructed. I like James Harden and Joel Embiid. It's an unstoppable pick and roll every single time.
Right.
Every single time. So, yeah, I don't know if they are one of the contenders to come out the East. Do I personally think they will? No.
I don't know if I don't think I'm going to pick them, but I do think they're contenders. And to me, I'm not really worried about Harden and Embiid. To me, it's like, do Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris play well? That's what I'm thinking. You know, Tobias Harris has been up and down. Tobias Harris has been frustrating for Sixers fans for, you know, a portion of his tenure as a Sixers, but he is somebody who can be your third option, fourth option, you know, at worst, who can spot up and shoot the ball, who's a good defender. You know, to me, if you're going to get the best of Tyrese Maxey and the best of Tobias Harris, that's just going to make things so much more difficult for defenses to key in on. When you do the pick and roll with James Harden, now you can't collapse in because you have to worry about Tobias Harris out there and Yang too, and Maxey out there as well. You know, if Maxey is another person creating off the dribble, that's just another thing you have to worry about, because Harden can play off ball. He's fine playing off ball, even though he is pretty ball dominant at times. He's fine spotting up.
At times. He's one of the worst catch and shoot three-point shooters I've ever seen. It makes no sense to me.
But for me, like, he's still a threat out there. And also, you know, Maxey, primary ball handler when Harden's out. I do think they have, you know, depending how you stagger the minutes in the playoffs, I do think that Doc has the pieces for this to work. It just, to me, I know you're going to be fine with Embiid. You're going to get what you're going to get from Embiid. He's going to be fantastic. I think Harden's struggles in the playoffs are a little overblown. I think it's a little bit like, for instance, yeah, they lost to the Warriors. They lost to the greatest team we've ever seen constructed. They took them 7. Like, what do you know, and honestly, like, that team was money from 3 all year, and they just went cold at the end in the 7th game. And you can blame D'Antoni, you can blame them for not switching up their style, but they stuck to what they did best, and they took the best team we've ever seen constructed to 7. Like, how could you blame James for that? You know what I'm saying? And he had a pretty decent series. So I think it's a little overblown. He did come up short in San Antonio, Manu blocking the shot. There are times. I'm not saying there aren't times. There are examples of James coming up short, but I still think there are also times where he's been good.
Yeah.
So for me, I like the Sixers. I think they catch the Celtics. Ooh, not good. If I'm a Sixer fan, I'm rooting for the Celtics to get the 1 seed, so you see the Bucks in second round, the 2-3, and hopefully you catch the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Or if you're lucky, the Knicks knock off the Celtics in the second round, and you got the Knicks in the second round.
So you think in a 7-game series, the Sixers could beat the Bucks?
I think they can. I don't know if they will, but I think they can. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Am I picking it? No. The Bucks right now, if I were to pick a champion, I'm picking the Bucks.
The Bucks almost lost. The Bucks almost lost to the Nets G League team tonight. I just want to put that out. I don't care that Giannis didn't play. It almost happened. I saw it. I watched it with my eyes.
I think they
my good
match up
eyes.
better with the Bucks than they do against the Celtics. So to me, it's like face the Bucks. I'd rather go against them in the second round than the Celtics. Hopefully the Celtics, implode or something, and then you face like a Cavs or a Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Do you think they can beat the Cavs in a 7-game series?
Sixers?
Yeah.
Yes. Come on, man. Seriously?
I'm asking. I'm not
Yes.
like I'm not saying it in a like. I know
Yes.
if you're listening to the podcast, I'm asking just to
The only
to
two
get an
teams I'd
answer.
pick over the Sixers in a series are the Celtics and the Bucks, and I do think they can beat the Bucks in a series. I don't think they can beat the Celtics. I think the Celtics just the way their offense is constructed, Philly just has a hard time guarding them. Al Horford,
Al
Sixer
Horford.
killer.
He's
Sixer
the
killer.
Embiid stopper. He was so good they signed him.
All right, let's move on to the final poll, and it says, who is your sixth man of the year? This is horrible timing if you voted for Emmanuel Quickly in at 44.1%. He lost to Malcolm Brogdon in at 55.9%. To be completely honest with you, I thought we'd have a little bit of prisoner of the moment type of voting here, considering Emmanuel went off against Boston on national TV, kind of had his coming out party, struggled against the Hornets, had an awful game against the Kings tonight, missed his first 10 shots, ended up 1 for 11. So I don't know how far that's gonna go. If it's not Emmanuel Quickly, is it Malcolm Brogdon for you? And if it's not either of these two, who did I leave off that you think should?
Quickly, it's not that high on the list for me for the sixth man of the year.
Okay.
Norman Powell is up there. Bobby Portis is up there. Yeah, it's probably gonna be Malcolm Brogdon. I think it might be between Malcolm Brogdon and Norman Powell. I'm not sure. I should have checked the stats, but I think Norman Powell might be leading the league in points off the bench, and usually that's weighed heavier than everything else when it comes to sixth man of the year. Quickly's having a solid year, like regardless of this terrible game he just had. But that was I feel like every time I watch Sacramento, it's never a normal game. It's either a blowout or like I'm just like, yo, this is chaotic. This is chaotic.
Oh my God, the Kings blew an 83-point lead and now are down by 17, but they won by how did this happen?
Like it's chaotic, but it's fun to watch. So it was a crazy game to watch. I get it. There's a Knicks agenda in these polls. I understand. I'm cool. Like I'm not. I get it. It's like it's okay.
Man. I wanted to see how people would react. That's all.
Just
well. Here's your stats really quick.
Okay.
Malcolm Brogdon in 29.5 minutes a game is averaging 15.4 points per game on 46.6% shooting, 38.8% from three, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Emmanuel Quickly on 28 minutes a game is averaging 13.3 points per game on 44.2% shooting and 35.9% from three. 4 rebounds, 3 assists. So Brogdon has a statistical edge on Quickly there. Brogdon's role is just as important on the Celtics as Emmanuel Quickly's role is on the Knicks as well, especially lately. Quickly's role as a sixth man kind of didn't really happen until like maybe 30 games ago. Thibs was still trying to figure everything out, whereas Brogdon was the sixth man from the beginning. They're both good defenders. Quickly is one of the best on-ball defenders in the league, especially from the guard position. A lot of people don't know that. So for you to be like, I'm not saying you're doing this, but for someone's like, oh, what about defense? Well, Quickly is a very good defender as well. I would give the slight edge to Brogdon, and I voted for Brogdon on this. Don't hate me, Knicks Twitter, for the simple fact he's been doing it all year, and because his role has been more defined all year, and he's been very consistent. He has missed games due to injury here and there, but he's a big reason why the Celtics are where they are right now.
Well, how much is he averaging?
Points per game, he's averaging 15.4. Quickly's averaging 13.3.
Norman Powell's averaging 16.6.
There we go.
2.9 rebounds.
Yeah, I think with Norman, he got off to a really slow start to start the season.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think it's kind of affecting Joel Embiid to kind of switch rewards here, is that in the beginning of the season, he didn't get off to like a fiery, like he just kind of like the Sixers and Embiid kind of crawled in the beginning.
Because I think it was dealing with a foot injury, right? To start the season.
Yeah, but that hurts narratives, man. Like you got to come out the gates. And I think with Norm struggled a lot in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
He struggled a lot. And then also like with the Clippers, it's kind of like a team where Brogdon's a sixth man. Quickly, you didn't know that he was a sixth man to like 30 games ago. With Norm, same thing. It's like, okay, now he's a sixth man. He kind of like morphed into the role rather than he was from the beginning. I think Brogdon's probably the only one that has been the sixth man from the beginning and has shined at it.
Yeah, and they have a higher winning record also, so that also should be weighed into it.
You think so? You think records should be weighed into it?
I think records should be weighed into all the awards.
Really?
Because if you're not winning, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Vibes.
Then
I'm
that
here for the vibes.
vibes, yeah, for the vibes, and that's when you're stat padded. Like if you're putting up like 27 points per game or whatever it is, and your team consistently doesn't win or doesn't make the playoffs, and people are like, "Yo, you're a top guard in the league," but your team is not winning consistently, then when you look at it, are you really a top player in the league, Bradley Beal? Like wait, who said that? Who?
Who?
Whoa,
Hey,
whoa, whoa,
hey,
whoa,
who was that?
whoa,
Who was
whoa,
that?
whoa,
Sit down.
whoa,
Sit down.
whoa.
We're doing a show.
Everybody relax. Everybody
Wow.
relax.
That was
Everybody
rude.
relax.
That was
That was
rude.
very. That was how. Everybody relax. Everybody relax. Everybody relax. Everybody calm down. Nah, but I think winning should be weighed in because you're trying to win games. You're trying to win games. That's what should matter.
No, you're right. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Winning
Fair
games
enough.
should matter. So like if you're putting up the stats and your team is winning, that should weigh more heavily.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for pole dancing. Thank you for participating and, showing what you got. Let's move on to what went down tonight. Grizzlies defeat the Warriors 131-110 following the beef of Dillon Brooks and Draymond Green. Dillon Brooks stat line, 14 points on 6 of 15 shooting, 1 for 7 from 3, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 3 fouls, and 1 really weird altercation with Draymond. Draymond, his impact is not felt by numbers. I'm not saying Dillon's completely is, but Draymond's stat line, 16 points on 5 of 9 shooting, 0 for 1 from 3, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 turnovers, 3 steals, and 1 really weird altercation with Dillon Brooks. Listen, the Warriors just can't win on the road. I don't want to break this game down too much. It was a blowout. There's just something that's not clicking with them on the road. I want to get your thoughts on this Dillon Brooks, Draymond Green beef, because I know how much of a fan of Dillon Brooks you are. You have my favorite moment of all time on this podcast involves you talking about Dillon Brooks. First of all, I'm gonna ask you this: if you were on the Grizzlies, are you condoning this behavior from Dillon Brooks?
They have to. They have to. They have no choice. It's like
He's the asshole. He's the asshole. He's like, you know what? He's an asshole, but he's our asshole.
right.
Yeah.
I always say, and this is not me talking about the Grizzlies, but because I don't think they are, but any championship team needs that guy that's kind of like a little bit off, but still like helps the team out, like still puts up numbers for the
Your
team.
Meta World Peace, your Dennis Rodmans, your
Draymond's,
Sean Stevenson's, Draymond Green, Steven Jackson's.
like just a tad bit when you look at him like, yo, he is out of his mind.
He might kill me.
But he's on our team, so we rock with him. We rock with that dude. But
He's wearing our colors.
He's wearing our colors, but he might be out of his mind. Every team needs that. It feels like every championship team has needed that. That I guess that guy that gives them that little bit of an edge. Looking back on, I feel like every championship team has had that. Even like I'll go back to the Celtics. It felt like a lot of the players on that team were out of their minds.
Yes.
With KG, Rondo,
Perk.
just Perk, like just a combination. So you might need that. With Dillon Brooks, Dillon Brooks is an example of when I look at NBA players and I say that it's not easy to make the NBA because there's a lot of talented players out there. You could look right now when you watch college games. There's a lot of talented players in the G League. There's a lot of talented players that are playing the Euro League overseas. There are NBA caliber players, but they're not in the NBA for different reasons.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons Dillon Brooks has been able to make in the league is because he has irrational confidence. A high irrational confidence. It's very irrational. What was the stat line again? How many shots did he take?
Dillon Brooks was 6 of 15, 1 for 7 from 3. And he thinks he played well. In his post-game interview, he said that, he plays better when Draymond's talking. He put a microphone in front of Draymond Green. He said that as he was leaving.
It's not that he thinks he played well. He knows he played well. That's how he's high
You can't
irrational.
convince him otherwise.
That's what I'm saying. High irrational confidence.
Hey, Dylan, the dime with Josh Rodriguez from Ballislife. I was wondering, you shot 2 for 27 today. How do you think that affected your team?
We
Well,
won.
I think I played great today. I made 2 shots. I was in the head of my opponents. I don't know what you saw, but no one could guard me out there.
He was like, shoot or shoot or something. And they were like, oh, what if you made your next one? Like, yeah, shoot or shoot. And he's like, what if you missed? He's like, oh, well, you got to keep shooting. Like, that's how you fit. Just
What do you want me to do?
what do you want me to do? Like, yes. It's a high irrational confidence. Now, this quote unquote beef, as I put in quotation marks, like this air quotes beef that they have, it's hilarious just because of the bars that have been given out.
Whoa,
I
yep.
a lot of bars were given out. The one thing I do like is that it hasn't gotten to the point where there was any malice on the court. Like even that weird interaction, there was no like punches
Yeah,
or
I
anything.
wasn't sure if they were gonna kiss or like it was weird, man.
It was weird, but I think
It
they're
was
both
weird.
like on that line. They don't want to get suspended, so they
Right.
don't want any technical. So it's like they're
Yeah,
just right there.
Yeah, it's also weird. Like, and this is not just them, but it's when dudes want to like they think they're gonna fight or they act like they're gonna fight, and they don't really want to fight, so they press up on each other's chest and they put their heads on each other. It's like, are they gonna fight or make out? Like that's what.
Nobody really wants to fight in the league.
No, they
Nobody
don't.
really. That's what happened with like Luka and Devin Booker. They were like nose to nose, and they were like smiling at each other. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
it was
well,
like
this is a weird moment.
yeah, it was erotic. It was. I'm not the only one who thinks this.
I man said it was erotic.
It
Hey
was,
man,
man. It's some weird stuff. We
that's
get
not
weird when we.
that's not
when
the
we
type
get
of
angry.
basketballs. That's not the type of basketball I was watching. And anyway, like, hey, that's fine. People don't want to fight in the NBA. It's just a fact. Like they're not there to
Yeah.
fight. You're not there
It's
to
not
fight.
worth the money. It's not worth the money. Yeah.
And there, unless there's a couple of people that are like really down to fight, like was it James Johnson?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, you don't want to mess with James Johnson.
yeah, like he's always down to fight. There's a couple players that are down, but people don't want to fight. So this was just a weird thing between them. Draymond saying that the dynasty starts after you leave I was like, oh,
Bars.
that was crazy.
I'm gonna read some quotes that came after the game during
Okay.
the press conference. Draymond stated, "Rivalries are created when you win. I win. Clearly, we won 4 times, and I think their organization has 0 championships, so I can't consider that a rivalry. Anybody can win in March. What that mean? I have a hard time getting out of my bed in March." Draymond suffers from depression, but aside from suffering depression, he's. I get his point.
Why you have me laughing at? Why you have me laughing at depression? Don't let me. I should not be laughing at depression. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I get his point. I mean, if I'm a 4-time champion,
Yep.
and there's like this up and coming team that hasn't knocked me out of the playoffs. We played them in the playoffs last year and we beat them, and they were talking crap. I don't know if I would take him seriously either. I'm Team Draymond on this, and it's not just because I work for the volume. I think he has points here.
Is it kind of crazy to think about how quickly the Grizzlies went from like that young, exciting, fun team everybody was rooting for to how everybody slanders now so quickly, just in 1 year turnaround, just because of all the stuff they were saying, even though they haven't won anything, and how they've been reacting like to things. It's just been.
Yeah, they haven't won anything. It's like,
They haven't won anything,
why are you talking? I mean, trash talk is a part of the league, but they're so arrogant about it.
The one thing I know is like you want a confident team. I know there's some coaches that look at them that have actually been on record saying that even though they don't like the way they talk, they would rather their team be overconfident, and you can bring that down to a team that's not, where you have to try to lift up.
No,
So
that's true.
that's one way to look at it, but it's just been a lot of talking for a team that really hasn't won anything. It's like
In the postseason, they've been
in the postseason,
successful.
yeah.
I mean, they're one of the better teams in the league, that's for sure. So that, they
Easily.
can talk. They can talk a little bit. And Dillon after the game said, "Quote: The fact that he was trying to pin my teammates against me, that's a low blow. That's the type of player he is. I ain't out there getting into physical altercations with my teammates."
Ooh. That's a bar.
Dillon.
That's a bar.
Dillon.
You know what's crazy? This season, like I've said many times before, this season has been so dramatic with
It's
all this
crazy.
crazy stuff that's been happening. I actually forgot about that happening with that whole situation
It happened such a
this
long
season.
time ago.
It feels like such a lifetime ago. It
Right.
feels like such a lifetime ago. I actually forgot about that. That's crazy. But that's a bar.
Man,
That's a bar by
that's a
Dillon.
bar.
That's a
That's a
bar.
bar. That's something where, like, when you get into a fight publicly with your ex and your friend, like, hits you on the side and tells you that, like, "Remember when he did this? Yeah, you should mention that." He didn't come up with that on his own. He did not. He didn't think of that. Someone else thought of that, and he decided to say that in public, because if he thought of that on his own, he would have said that. That was the first thing he would have said
So you're saying
in
that
my
his
mind.
one of his teammates probably told him that? So, like, his
Yeah,
teammates
when you're
do
going
mess
through a
with him?
breakup with your ex and, like, she blasts you on Facebook, and then you kinda, like, you subtweet her on Twitter, and
Can't relate.
then, like, you guys are kinda fighting, and
Can't
then
relate. Can't
your
relate.
friends go, "Yo, remember that time she did this? You should say that." And you're like, "Yo, you right." Like, that's what happened.
Can't relate. Block all
I
your
can't relate
exes.
either. I
Block all
act
your
like I can
exes.
relate.
Block all your exes. So everything. Block them. Do not double back. Best advice. Do not double back. Block all your exes. Do not double back.
But
Do not step back.
listen, in all seriousness, I think this is great for the league. I really do. I'm not a fan of Dillon Brooks, but I think the league needs that. I think the league needs someone where I can watch the TV and I can, like, root against. Like, I need Dillon Brooks to root against. I want Dillon Brooks to be in the playoffs, in a 7-game series, talking crap to a team like the Warriors, or a team who I like watching, to a player who I like, or to somebody in general who I want to root for, and I need to sit down and root for that player over Dillon Brooks. I need it. The NBA needs this.
You don't have enough of that with Trae Young against the Knicks?
Wow, Kwab. That's messed up. Wow. You know what? We're gonna change topics.
That happened. What do you mean? You guys
Nah,
said he's the villain.
I don't even want
He
to talk about it, bro. Why would you bring that up?
he took a bow.
Why would
Bow. He took a
So Katie slipped on the floor and hurt himself.
and her NBA ball boys. What's going on with y'all, bro?
I don't think it's the ball boys. It's the guys who clean the floor, and I feel bad for them because I don't know how much they make. They can't be making that much. But can you imagine being the guy who's responsible for cleaning that wet spot, and now the Sun season might be in peril because you didn't wax on, wax off enough on the floor? I feel horrible for that guy or girl. I honestly, I have a horrible feeling in my stomach for that person.
Well, I'll say this. Kuminga got hurt before the game tonight also. Like, he got hurt in warm-ups. Same thing, rolled his ankle during warm-ups. I don't know if it's a wet spot. I don't know if it's because of the shoes.
Is this like a floor cleaner union conspiracy?
Conspiracy like this.
Like they got together.
Then no, it's just like one villain out there, and he's just like dropping like droplets, and then he leaves. Like,
Yo, guys, listen, if you want to get paid more an hour, just say so. You don't got to go hurting everybody.
hey, yo, what's crazy about the KD thing though? I don't think it was the floor, which is like kind of scary. It just looked like he turned his ankle on the step. Anybody that's played ball, when you see an ankle roll, you get like the pain, cringy, because everybody's been through that in like a jam finger or two, like the most common injuries you get when you play ball.
When you hear the pop on the jam finger,
that's the worst. That's frustrating. Very so annoying. But yeah, it was weird. He just rolled, but then he finished his warm up. He went through his warm up and he finished. So, but they say he's going to be out for possibly 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, Shams tweeted he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Then Woj tweeted that they're expecting 2 to 3 weeks for him to be out. That's back before the playoffs to get ready. I am on the record of saying that I don't think this team needs a lot of time before the playoffs to get ready and be cohesive. I'm not going to take that back, but I do think this kind of makes me pause a little bit. Like, all right, Katie's hurt now. It's not like he's going to be 100% healthy. He does have an injury history now. How much does that play into the playoffs, and how much does that play into, like, hey, is he going to be able to handle like a whole playoff schedule? Like, there's no breaks. You can't rest in the playoffs.
He's a unicorn. He'll be fine because the way he bounces back from injuries don't make sense. And I think part of the reason why is because he's so skinny. So he doesn't. Most players, when you're out for like a couple of weeks, whatever, they might put on weight, whatever it is. He usually just comes back, and if it's not the game after, he looks like the same old KD, and he keeps it moving. We've always talked about how he's the type of player you can just drop him into any system, and he's going to be effective.
Yeah,
but it does give me, like you said, it also gives me pause like just a little bit of pause. Hopefully he returns and he's fine. Stars being injured, I hate it. I wish Zion could have a full healthy season. I wish even a player like Lonzo Ball could have a full healthy season. Like just it's rough, but I feel like they should be fine. Devin Booker has been playing out of his mind lately, like out of his mind lately. So they're just basically gonna revert back to how they were playing before KD joined the team, and then hopefully he can just come slide back in, and they keep it moving.
Yeah, do you think that's gonna affect them though, like having to go back and forth like that? I mean, he came in and they were undefeated with him, so I don't think it'd be
Mm,
that too much of a problem.
They really
I think I think you can hear it in my voice. I'm starting to doubt the cohesion and everything. I stand by what I said, but like it kind of does give me pause. Like, damn, you only gonna give like a week or two before playoffs?
that
You know what
the
I mean?
yeah, I think the cohesion problem usually falls onto like the others. So like the role players having to be like having to have the mindset like, oh, when KD comes back, you have to be ready to knock down open shots, or figuring out how to get more shots for like DeAndre Ayton when KD comes back, because he when the games he's played, DeAndre Ayton has been averaging like a low amount of shots. The cohesion issue is going to be KD knowing the plays, how all them getting used to each other, and mostly I think the role players knowing how they're going to fit in around that, because KD is a big piece. Regardless of how adaptable he is, he's a very big piece. Devin Booker is going to be fine because he's going to get his. So it comes down to the role players and figuring it out. But I still think you're going to be one of the top teams in the West
Yeah.
in terms of when the playoffs come. They could be one of the teams that come out the Western Conference.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, they might, catch that 4-5 matchup with the Clippers, which would be hella interesting.
Oh, whoa, that'd be crazy.
That would be, I mean, yeah, KD's back for a week or two. Like, all right, let's go. But the Clippers have identity issues as well. But if they're playing to their best, and they've kind of turned it around the past few games, only 2 games, but they won their last 2 games. Who knows what they're going to look like when the postseason comes? That's going to be a really interesting series. That could have honestly, if both teams were playing at their best all season, could have been like the Western Conference Finals. So
Yeah,
I'm looking
I
forward
think the
to it.
Western Conference Finals is going to be feels like it's going to be all the matchups feel like they're going to be crazy and more fun to watch compared to
Yeah, like I, c-
Western
I couldn't even
Conference.
tell you what I think it's going to be until I see like the 1 through 8. If I'm being honest, like I got to see what the bracket looks like, and then I'll tell you what I think. All right, well that's going to do it for today's show. Kwab, thanks for hopping on once again. We did it.
Always, we
We
did
did
it.
it. We did it. I'm not sure we're gonna have another show probably early next week. Until then, make sure you're subscribed on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you're listening on audio. If you're watching the video, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Balls Life Podcast Network, and make sure you subscribe to the Dime YouTube channel as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh_Rodriguez_. Kwab is at Kwab, aka Yes. The podcast is at the Dime NBA on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Also, you could type that in on YouTube as well. That is a YouTube handle for the show's page where I take clips of the show and do YouTube shorts of the show and upload them on there. So until next time, we will see you for another episode of The Dime.